When you're in the midst of competition, oh man, there's some crazy thoughts that pop in your mind. I started going into this whole, I command you, kind of like these evangelists, right? I command you to leave this person's body. That's exactly what I was doing. I felt the knot. I'm like, I command you. It sounds funny, but during that process, I was buying into it. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mindset Mastery. I am your host, Araujo, and you'll notice a particular smile on my face, right? That is a smile of accomplishment. That is a smile of setting an intention and going after it and getting things done. Now, one thing that I want to remind you as we get into our conversation today, how important setting targets are, or setting intentions, right? Being intentional about something. Is that anytime you achieve that certain intention, anytime you achieve that certain target, it gives you a feeling of fulfillment. And it relies less on others, but fully on you. The people that I've noticed are the happiest are the ones that are goal-oriented, right? The ones that are constantly just pushing and striving for something. The ones that I see that are the most happiest are the ones that expect others to make them happy. The expectation of others to do things for them so that they can thus be happy. And I want to talk a little bit about intention and motivation and how that really creates this lifestyle of fulfillment, this lifestyle of happiness, this drive, this ambition. So last week it was the week before my Olympic triathlon. So to get into the details of Olympic triathlon, it is a 1,500-mile swim. So it is just shy of 1 mile swim in open water. Okay, so typically it takes me about 45 to 50 minutes to finish that type of obstacle. Now, think about that. Being in the water for that long is exhausting. Just think about just having to move your arms and your legs and everything else in the water for 50 minutes. That is exhausting. It's exhausting running for 50 minutes, right? It's exhausting doing anything for 50 minutes. So it starts with the 1,500-mile swim, and then it's followed by a 25-mile bike ride, all right? And when we're talking bike ride, we're talking about 18 to 19 miles per hour is what I typically average. And this time around, I fell just under 19 miles an hour, which is still very fast, very respectable. And then it's followed immediately upon a 6-mile run. Like, guys, like this was way above my capacity, just 3 months ago. Way above. I couldn't even stay in the water for 5 minutes, let alone for 50 minutes, without feeling fatigued. So it was way above my capacity. But I did have an intention, right? I did have an intention, which was to complete this Olympic triathlon. Now, this wasn't my first triathlon. I've tried a sprint triathlon before, and I'm going to tell you something. There was a lot of learning lessons during that process and a lot of satisfaction knowing that I am much better today than I was just 2 years ago when I did my first sprint triathlon. And one of the things that I noticed was the big difference was the swim portion of it. I adequately prepared this time. I was in the water constantly. I got the right people behind my corner to coach me, to guide me, to show me how to shorten up the gap between not knowing how to do it to knowing how to do it, right? I think in everything that we do, even in sales, it's about being able to shorten up the learning curve, shorten up the gap, shortening up the time that you're in this place of not knowing exactly what to do. And I remember my very first sprint triathlon, like swimming up to the starting line was disastrous for me because it was 100 yards away. By the time I even swam to the starting line, I was already fatigued. So you can only imagine how I felt after I had to complete 750 meters. As a matter of fact, the thought of actually drowning crossed my mind multiple times, where I was looking for the lifeguards on the raft so I could hang on them, where I was looking for the nearest buoy so I could hang on them, where I was on my back trying to find ways to calm myself down and to also try to conserve some energy. And I remember going to the sprint triathlon and being one of the last individuals to come out of the water. And we're talking about, at that time, it was 750 meters. So even the guys that were doing 1,500 meters and the gals and all the age groups passed me up when I had to do half that distance. So it was very, very, it was a bad overall memory for me, right? So I swore off swimming, so much so for 2 years I didn't do any type of competition like this. 2 years. It was such a bad experience. And the thought of drowning were very rampant, and it was very real. I just wasn't adequately prepared. So this time around, I decided to go and do some open water swims, and I used some of the guys from the office to motivate me, to keep me accountable to going out there and doing the things that I didn't like. Right, open water swim still created this form of anxiety throughout my mind and my body, but I was out there, and on Wednesday there was this event before the event. And this was the first time I swam with other individuals in 2 years. So I forgot that feeling of being kicked in the head. I forgot that feeling that as you're stroking, you also hit others, right? And which throws off your stroke. I forgot what it felt like to have somebody swimming right next to you and they splash an entire, handful of water into your mouth, right? So I forgot all those things. And I ended up finishing nearly 50 minutes on time, like 48:50 was my time, right? Nearly 50 minutes in the water. I didn't want to be in the water 50 minutes. I just didn't want that. It's exhausting. It's mentally draining. I didn't want to be there for that long. So what I did is I made a last-minute appointment with my coach because I noticed things that I could have done, but I didn't know exactly. I didn't know exactly what it was that I needed to change. It was a mindset thing, one, but it was also a process thing, two. And this is all in line with what we do in business. So as I'm talking about what I'm doing physically, I want you to think about how it implies or how it applies to your business. Mental and process, right? Mental and process. That's the same thing in anything that we do. So I did a last minute coaching session with my coach on Saturday, the day before the event, just hours before the event, as a matter of fact. It was like late afternoon, and my event started the next morning, early in the morning. So when I went in, I told them about the things that I noticed. I noticed that I was like having shoulder pain on my left shoulder. I've had surgeries, and these are recent surgeries, right? I've had surgeries on my shoulder and on my pec, and it was just really, really bothering me. And so much so that I finished with 50 minutes in the water. But I knew that if I wanted to be competitive in this game, I needed to get out of the water as soon as possible. So I went to him, and we did just a quick 20-minute session. And I told him about what I was doing. And he said simply, hey, AZ, as opposed to trying to come with your stroke towards the middle of your body, you just stroke a little bit outside of your body and see how that feels. The pain went immediately away. There was no pain. And I felt more confident because now I can focus on the strokes. I can focus on my breathing, not on this tweak that I felt on my shoulder. So I went in with that. I didn't need to relearn how to swim. I just needed to know how to focus on the things that I'm doing right here, right now. And when we have distractions, when we have pains, when we have ills, when we get into an argument with our spouse, when we're not doing good in business, it's hard to focus because we're only thinking about the things that are not good. The pain was not good, and I kept focusing on that. So good luck with me trying to breathe correctly, trying to take the right strokes, right? Focused on the pains of others, right? Splashing water in my face. Whenever we focus too much on what others or other things that are causing us the pains, we can't focus on the intention. So, fast forward, just 24 hours later, less than 24 hours later, I'm at the starting line. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to play anybody else's game. There's probably about 100 individuals in the water. And, one of the things that I remembered is I have to play my own game. If we try to play somebody else's game, we're going to get beat because that is their game, right? How many times have we thought about playing at somebody else's level and only to get beat, and then we feel disappointed? Well, the chances of you winning at somebody else's game are zero. That's why it's called somebody else's game. So here we go. So the timer goes off, and I don't even remember what it was. I think they just said go or rang a bell. I have no idea. But I knew I needed to take about 5 seconds to myself before I started. So I did exactly that. And then when I went, I kept going. And here's the thing about going. You are going to make mistakes. But the key is to just believe that you are doing the right things until you catch yourself making the mistakes. Not pause every few seconds to figure out, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? And we get a lot of that in business, right? We want the reassurance that we're doing it right from somebody else. So that's why we take a slower pace to actually get what we want. Because we're constantly asking for the opinions of others. We're constantly looking at others to determine if we are doing it right or not. I decided I'm just going to keep going. And once I felt it was okay to look up, then I could course correct. And guess what? I went and I kept swimming and I kept swimming. And I finally said, you know what? I better look to see where my trajectory is at. And guess what? I was a little off my game. I was veering into the inside of the lane, which meant if you swim inside, you're going to have to swim back out to stay on the outside of the buoy. But guess what? Once I determined that, I just did the course correction. And it wasn't that bad to get back on course because it doesn't mean that I have to make a sharp right and then get back on track. It means I can slowly veer right into the path I'm supposed to be on. So it's like this whole thing of going in and going back out. You're still moving forward. And sometimes when we think we're on the wrong path, we want to make a hard right. The hard right makes things more difficult. But if you veer off and you start doing the right things, it's like you were moving forward the entire time. I didn't lose much time. So I had the intention, I'm going to get better, and I'm not going to stop. And I had the motivation, guys. What was the motivation? I don't want to be in the water 50 damn minutes. It's too long. It's too exhausting, mentally draining. I don't want to be in this pain spot for longer than I have to. So I'm going to do what I need to do in order to get what I want, is just to get out of the water. And some of you delay this whole process with money. Don't delay the whole aspect of getting money and just go after what you want. It makes it more painful the more time you go without money, with the more time you go out without closings. It's better just to keep going, even though it's monotonous, even though it sucks, it's exhausting. But at least you're veering on the path and not trying to make a hard right. Open houses suck. Calling all your past fear is awkward sometimes. Marketing every day is exhausting. But at least you're veering forward. You're not prolonging the whole aspect of making more money till later. You're saying, I'm tired of this. I don't want to be in the water 50 damn minutes. I don't want to be broke another 30 days. So I need to just start doing it now. So I'm in the water. And I keep going. And I take some small pauses to determine where I'm going. And then I put my head down and I keep going. I have people slapping me in the head like they did the time before, where it would cause me to stop. This time I'm like expecting it. It sucks. I had others splashing handfuls of water in my mouth again. I spit it back out and I kept going. I may have swallowed some, but I kept going. My motive, my intention were there. They were in alignment. The intention, I need to get out of this water. The motive, I don't want to be here 50 minutes. So every little thing that I experienced the time before was present this time around. But what happened? My mindset, my motivation was greater. My intention was greater. I made it out of the water in 37 minutes. 37 minutes, 1,500 meters. Just barely learned how to swim properly 2 months ago. And I finished it in 37 minutes. Because I focused on me. I focused on going after what I wanted as opposed to the process of getting there. The only difference between the successful and the unsuccessful in real estate or in anything that we do is the intention and the motive behind it. So the question for you becomes, why am I delaying what I want? Why? Why don't I just do the things that are proven to work? Because there's a process, just like there is in swimming, right? There's a process, there's a technique to all this, which are the same things that we teach here, which are the same things that our top producers do day in and day out. You're not above it or below it. You're capable of it. But it comes down to intention and motive. So I get out of the water and I'm feeling good. Holy shit, was it different from the first time around. I remember the first time around, I was gasping. I was nearly on the hands and knees, right? Crawling to the next transition, which is the cycling. This time I was running. I felt great. My body knew that I finished that in record time. I just didn't know. I was still in competition mode. I didn't know. I didn't know until we completed the entire competition of how fast I actually went. Not the best time. It was my best time, and that's all that mattered. I don't care what everybody else did. It was my best time. It's kind of like closing 2 deals in a month and then beating yourself up because this other person closed 4. It doesn't matter what that other person closed. Be happy that you're doing your best. And if that's 2 transactions, cool. Work on that, stabilize that, and then work on 3. But I wasn't gonna beat myself up for having about 50 to 75 other people beat me before I did. I was just happy I was like out of the damn water. Be happy you can pay your bills because you're doing the work. Be happy you can provide your family what they want and what they need because you're doing it. Forget about what somebody else is doing. I didn't care about that. I got on my bike and I went. And I kept on looking at my clock. I know I'm capable between 19 and 20 miles an hour. So I focused. You know what? I'm gonna keep this above 19. And I would say for 7/8 of the entire course, that's exactly where I was at because I know my capabilities. So I just went with what I know. Keep doing it. You've been here before. You dominated this game. You've done 107 miles, 112 miles before. This is nothing, right? Motivation comes from the reminders of the lessons you've learned from yesteryear, from yesterday. That's what motivation is. It's the feeling. It's the reminders of why. So, my cycling was great. I started feeling a little fatigued the last 2 miles, but I kept on going. The transition to the run, holy cow, that was a different game altogether. But this is what I liked that I did. I got off my bike and I didn't walk it over to the transition line. I ran with my bike. I ran, but I was noticing some things about my legs. I was starting to get some cramps on my legs. My muscles were tightening up. And so I'm there and I'm changing into my running gear. And I made the mistake of trying to stretch, right, as I'm feeling these cramps. So I lifted my leg backwards to try to bend, my leg. So I lifted my heel towards my hamstring, and my entire hamstring locked up. It locked up. And I felt it, and it felt like a rock right there on the back of my hamstring, like just a big solid knot. Solid, like cement. And I remember, I cannot just stand here. I'm going to keep going, even if it's a walk. So instead of running out of the transition line, I walked. I kept moving forward. When you stop, there is no momentum, right? Like that old adage, a body in motion continues to stay in motion, right? So that was my whole thought process. Even if I have to limp, I am going to continue to move forward. Just like the lesson I learned in the water. Even though I veer off the path, I'll course correct, but I'm moving forward. I'm not going to stop and say, oh my God, I can't believe I'm this far off the path. Just kept moving forward. So I was limping. out of the transition line. 25 yards into it, I'm telling myself, I am more powerful than this cramp. And I started doing some crazy, when you're in the midst of competition, oh man, there's some crazy thoughts that pop in your mind. I started going into this whole, I command you, kind of like these evangelists, right? I command you to leave this person's body. That's exactly what I was doing. I felt the knot. I'm like, I command you. It sounds funny, but during that process, I was buying into it. I command this pain to leave my body. My body will recover. I will send the blood cells to get my blood circulating so this cramp can move. These are the thoughts that are going. I'm like putting the focus on my legs, and I'm just going at it. And 25, not even 25 yards, 26 yards, I'm starting to jog. And I just go. And from the moment I started jogging, I did not stop. But I'm going to tell you something. That doesn't mean my cramp stopped. It didn't. I had to adjust my run many, many times, but I did not stop. The cramps went from the back of my legs to the front of my legs to my calf to my shins, like every muscle I felt because they were cramping up. And then I would go through that whole process again. My body's going to recover. You keep going. The pain will subside. I command my red blood cells to fix the issue. And I went. And I kept going. And we had to do this lap 3 times, 3 miles, 2 times, right? 3 miles, 3.1 miles, 2 times. And it's amazing when you find your whys, when you find your intention, right? The intention is the goal. The motive is the why. I go and I loop around and I'm feeling good. I'm still going, but I'm not pushing because I'm fatigued by this point. Right after a 25-mile bike ride, right? I'm 3 miles into my run. I did a mile swim, so every body muscle is depleted. And as I run around, I see my family, and I see my dog Boy. And I forgot about the pain as I was running through them, by them. So Carla starts running right next to me with my dog Boy. And I'm smiling away. That's the motivation right there. Right? Seeing her proud, seeing my kids, their eyes, how proud they are. That's the motivation. You forget about the pains during that time. And as opposed to saying, damn, I still have one more entire lap to go, which is 3.1 miles, I changed my mind. I said, I only have one left to go. It's the same situation. Instead of saying, I still have one more lap to go, which is 3 miles, I said, there's only one lap to go. Very different, almost the same words, very different meanings. The optimist and the pessimist, right? But when I saw the smiles on their faces, I was like, all right, I'm going to get this shit done. And that's the motive we have to remember. We all have responsibilities, and when we're able to achieve it, we have to use that as the fuel. We have to use that as fuel. At the moments you don't want to do what's required in this business, you have to look at your motivating factors, like, what is it? I know for a while, for me, I was tired of saying no to my kids. Of, no, we can't go here. No, I can't buy you that. Watching every nickel and dime. Living out of scarcity on a consistent basis. I hated that feeling. But it was all because of me, because I lacked to do the things that are required. That's the easiest way to define what we don't have. It's we're not doing what is required to get it. If you don't have escrows, you're not doing what is required. It's not because you're less than or incapable. It is a decision of not doing what is required. So the motivation comes from that. The result. I saw them running. Carla was right next to me. Boy was right there. And it felt so good. I only have 1 mile, one lap left. I only have 3.1 miles left. I'm going to get this done. And I went. And I kept going. And I ended up finishing just over 3 hours in this game. And that's a respectable time. I'm an amateur athlete. And I figured one thing out. And maybe next time I'll sign up for this one. There's a difference, too. A different category for those that weigh over 200 pounds. Like, in the whole realm of things, I was like 160 or 137 or 167. I can't remember offhand. There's 320 plus athletes that signed up. So I was right in the 50 percentile. But if you put that in overweight class, it's supposed to be tougher for those that weigh more, right? That are bigger. I would have been like top 7. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is how I did. And there was a lot of redemption in that. Because the pains of yesteryear taught me many great lessons. I have to prepare better. I have to be in the right environments, the right coaches, the right people at my ear. Not reminding me how bad I did the time before, but how good I can be this time around. And I just did little small corrections. And it came down to my belief in me and what I wanted, the intention, and remembering what's going to get me through, which is the motivation. And these lessons run rampant in everything that we do. Because I could have found many reasons to stop. Valid reasons, right? My legs were cramping up. It's a good time to stop. I don't want to pull something. Many reasons. I was having a conversation with my daughter this past week, and she says, there's excuses. She brought up, excuses for not preparing properly, right? And then there's good reasons. And I said, baby, the only difference between an excuse and a reason is that a reason is something you just believe with your heart and soul, which takes from an excuse into a reason. If I would have believed with my heart and soul that I was going to tear something, that would have now taken it from the bucket of excuse to reason and have others buy into that as well. That's all it is, a true belief that the reason I cannot be successful is because I'm a single mother. The reason I cannot be successful is because my spouse doesn't support me. The reason I cannot be successful is because I don't have a big network of family and friends. I don't know enough people. There's many excuses that become our reasons. And guess what? A lot of people will be like, oh yeah, that's a really good reason. Yeah, good job, man. Yeah. Yeah, not knowing technology, that's a good reason. No, it's an excuse. Obviously, there's exceptions to every rule. I'm not here to argue with anyone. But most reasons comes from an excuse that we believe with our heart and soul. So there were many reasons that I could have avoided this. I'm too old. But then I see a 72-year-old kick my ass out there. 72. He has many reasons. Valid reasons. And everybody will be like, oh yeah, well, you're 72 years old. But he refuses it to make it a reason, right? A valid reason. Because he still believes in himself. And I saw that. A 72-year-old beat me. 72. He got like 2 hours and 45 minutes. Unbelievable. So what do I want you to get out of this entire conversation? I want you to start thinking about intention, about how you see yourself, how you see your business, okay? And the motivation behind it, the intention. I want you to start thinking about how you market your business. Do you market yourself as being the best in the business? And my question is, if you don't, why not? Is it a lack of belief in yourself? Because when you really think about the service that we provide our clients, I'm going to ask you this. Do you or do you not deliver superior service? Are you not out there to protect, to lead, to communicate, and navigate your clients through the sales process better than anyone else for that particular client? When I say it like that, I'm not talking about somebody else's client. You won't deliver that level of service to somebody else's client. But to your client, do you not deliver that level of service? Your answer should be yes. So guess what? Then you're the best. And your job is to convey that on a consistent basis that you are the best. And who's going to argue that? Think about that. Who's going to argue that you're not the best? Because numbers alone won't make that a convincing conversation. I know a lot of great realtors that are not selling $40 million in real estate. It doesn't matter. But their clients receive the ultimate experience whenever they deal with this person. So you don't have to have the high sales numbers to prove that you are the best. It's what your clients say about that experience that'll give you all the backup you need to make that proclamation. So if you believe it and then you deliver on the claims of it, then essentially you are the best, right? That's intention about how do you position yourself in the marketplace. If you position yourself as just any other agent, hey, you want to buy, you want to sell? Good luck. I know about 40,000 others that say the same thing. So when you say such a phrase, it conveys confidence to your clients. Okay? There's certain phrases, there's certain words that conveys confidence to your clients. But more importantly, if you're constantly saying these words, like for me, I don't want to be in the water 50 minutes. I'm going to get this done. I blew that mark away, 37 minutes, right? But if you're constantly telling yourself, I am the best, I deliver the best, your confidence goes through the roof. So practice the whole thing as I am the best, I deliver the best, I market the best, I communicate the best, I negotiate the best, I will find your home, I will sell your home for the most money, I always deliver. Guess what happens when these words, these affirmations, these intentional phrases does? It gets you delivering at a higher level. You start operating from that level. So when you say the big claims, you essentially force yourself to deliver big. Get that? When you make the big claims, saying the best is a pretty big claim. But when you say it, you force yourself to deliver big. Because we all have this thing. Right? We all have this thing that's called ethics. Right? So if we say something, we want to deliver on that. And the problem why most of you don't say those things is because there's a part of you that doesn't think you can deliver. But if you look at your background, your history, you've delivered on that whole claim hundreds, if not thousands of times. So I want you to start directing your subconscious, your unconscious, to level up, providing it direct instruction. So no more holding back, okay? Say that with conviction. And it gets back to the conversation of the setting the targets. When you beat a target, when you're able to achieve, fulfillment goes through the roof. So guys, I hope that you were able to get something out of this conversation that'll give you the intention and the motivation just to keep going and believe in yourself. That's what it comes down to. The reminders. And there are minimum requirements to make it big in this business. It is up to you. You either do them or you don't. And if you don't have what you want, then I'm challenging you that you may not be doing enough. Because we're all capable of excelling at a very high level, whatever we do. Keep that intention and that motivation. Let's see who's on here. Let's go with Claudia. Good morning, Rudy, Jason, Olivia. Good morning and welcome to Hazen Associates. Liz, Bobby. Good morning. Ali. Good morning. Gabe. We got Armando. We got Nick, Cindy. Doing well, Cindy. Finished up. I'm happy, right? Set an intention, set a target, and I completed it. Jasmine, David. Good morning. Dora Lee. Good morning. Jermaine, Beatrice. And it's all you have to do is tweak it a little. That's it. Hesitation kills, absolutely. And the hesitation kept on killing my momentum. The swim before the big race. 50 minutes in the water, it's not fun. Good morning, Michelle. Dora Lee, thank you for that. Ellie, hell yeah. Jason, intention, drive, and heart, love. That's what it's all about. Good morning, Susan, Gabe. Claudia, thank you, AZ, for always motivating us and reminding us that it's in us to keep going. Have a great week. That's exactly it, guys. So whatever challenges you face this week, as long as you continue to look at what you want for the week. So I'm going to remind you to use their 12-week targets book. What is it that you want this week to feel accomplished? And then go out and seek that and beat that and just accomplish that. And you'll be surprised what it does for your overall demeanor and how you show up in all aspects of your life. Guys, thank you again for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery, and we'll see you next time. Talk to you soon. Bye now.